Now, there's not a lot of time left, but I am going to ask you some fan questions.
Okay.
We may have to do a part two down the road since you're not too far from me, and there's still a lot we didn't cover in this interview. But
That'd be great, Devin.
I'll pop in some fan questions now. If UFC was an option in the '80s, would you have considered that as a career?
No. I, 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 I wouldn't want to get beat up for real. We took enough beating in wrestling with bumps in the ring. I wouldn't want to get beat up for real for a living. I don't think I would have been interested. But it wasn't as big then as it is now.
No.
But that would have been more for, guys like the Steiner brothers or Dr. Death or some of the guys had that real. I was a football player. I wasn't a shooter. I would have been more, I think, an option for the wrestling guys like those guys rather than somebody like me.
Who was the hardest opponent to torture rack?
Um, surprisingly, some of the bigger guys, like I had Big Show up in the rack. He wasn't difficult at all. Of course, he helped a lot. People think it's the biggest guys. But sometimes the shorter, heavier guys were harder to get up. There was one guy was Joey Baggs, one of the guys I used to work with on TV a lot. He was shorter and heavier and bottom heavy, so he was difficult to get up. And then I had one guy. I wrestled live on TV one time that I'm not recalling his name right now, but he was difficult to get up. So you'd be surprised. Some of the bigger guys were easier to get because they were a little taller. So the distance was shorter. A matter of physics, sort of.
What was your all-time favorite match?
Wow. That'd be hard to pick. Had a lot of great matches with I worked with every top guy in the business. That's a great question. I think my first world title match I had with Rick H in Baltimore was very memorable. The world title, crowd response, I really remember that. My first match with Bret Hart up in Winnipeg, Canada, house show. I always remember that match. We clicked right away, both in the ring and personally. A match with Hogan in Detroit when we switched the title. That was huge. There's so many. I wrestled almost 5,000 matches, so I did ask the question a lot. It's a good question, but it's really hard to say to just pick one match.
Did you enjoy being a heel or a face more?
There was a tag match against the Steiners in the pay-per-view we had one time, Sting and I, because we were all such good friends.
Yeah,
We had a really good match, and it felt really good afterwards. That was
that would have been
another
up there.
match that really stands out to all four of us, really.
Did you prefer being heel or face?
Um, I enjoyed both. I think it was easier to be a heel. I always felt it was easier to get people ticked off at you than it is to get them to love you. So as a behind the scenes, I felt that was easier and a little more fun to be a heel and trying to make people love you. But I enjoyed both.
Who would you ideally want to induct you into the WWE Hall of Fame if you were inducted?
That's a good question. There's a lot of guys, but probably if he would do it, definitely Stinger would be I think a great choice. It would mean a lot to both of us, really.
Do you still follow wrestling?
I do definitely.
Any favorites?
Gosh, these guys are so talented now. My gosh, I think Rollins is really good. These guys do stuff that I never dreamed of. They're so athletic and they look great. Costuming. There's so many good ones now. Obviously, John Cena's had a great career. Not many guys left in my generation, but there's so many good young talents now. That'd be really difficult to pick just one.
Do you have any stories about Haku? Ming, also known as Ming.
Great guy. We loved having him around, and he was like a bodyguard when we go out. I've heard a lot of stories about him. I worked with him. We got along great, and he was a joy to work with. But I've heard probably the same stories everybody else has, that they call it the goozle, where you grab guys by the throat and they like go unconscious. It's for real. I've heard a lot of unbelievable stories about that. Thankfully, never did to be for real. Where you grab guys by the throat, unbelievable. What a man's man, for sure.
What's your opinion on Dusty Rhodes?
He was a real mentor, and he gave me my finish, my character when I came to WCW, the backbreaker. Spent a lot of time with me on interviewing and just to have a debt of gratitude to him. He's mentored a lot of guys, and a real credit to the industry for sure.
Why was your TNA run so short? Did that have to do with your injury or other reasons?
TNA, at that time in my life, I had a lot of other stuff that we prior talked about. My mind wasn't really on wrestling at that point. It was on staying alive at the time. I was in a life and death struggle with drugs now.
Did you ever try to get back in with WWE before WCW closed? Any like contract negotiations during that period?
No, one time I left back in '95.
Yeah.
When we got bought out, my contract was for 2 more years, guaranteed. So we never had any discussions. But then obviously my life had completely fallen apart. I wasn't, to be honest with you, thinking about wrestling in that.
Now this is a question a fan has. What's your opinion as a Christian on how Ric Flair lived his personal life?
I love Nate, and he's one of the most dynamic, charismatic guys I've ever been around. And Sting and I and Nikita and the guys that are believers now in the business that love Nate to death, we're always hopeful and prayerful. We always say to each other, man, if we could get Nate over to our side, what a testimony. We call it testimony, which means our story of what we once were and did to what we are now because of Jesus. We're always like, man, if we could. So we're all still very prayerful. We all still love Nate for just who he is, and we love him just the way he is. But we'd love to see him come over to our side for sure. What a testimony that man would have! Wow.
And
But he can win a lot of people to Christ. He's got the gift, right?
That's for sure.
Those interview skills being used for the kingdom. My gosh.
Wow. The preachers and pastors are the best promo guys. Yeah, exactly.
We'd love to have Rick on our side.
Without a
In
question.
that regard, we're all on the same side. But
Yeah.
I mean, in that regard, we'd love to have Rick on board. Come on, Rick.
And this is another question. As a Christian, what do you think of transgender wrestling now that they're doing in this new All Elite Wrestling company?
No, I haven't heard of that. What is that?
Men dressed up as females, wrestling as females against females.
I look at TV and wrestling as an entertainment business. So, I mean, I don't have I'm not like a legalistic, like if people would have with the Bible. I know that they try to always mirror wrestling with our current times and what's going on in the world. So that stuff's going on in the world. So I understand. And they're out to draw money and get television ratings. So I understand where they're coming from with that kind of stuff. If that makes sense. I mean, I would definitely necessarily condone that myself, but I mean, I understand where they're coming from.